After experimenting with a melee-focused ranger build, I thought it'd be a good idea to make a build that's a bit truer to the intended playstyle of the Javelin. Instead of smashing all my enemies with a big electrified stick, today's build is about guns, grenades, and epic explosions. Let's get started. My philosophy for making builds hasn't changed, so everything is going to start with a single item. This time, it's the last argument grenade ability. This Masterwork Frag Grenade's additional effect provides bonus ultimate energy for hitting enemies. Hitting a single target will see a nice bump in your ultimate, but this Masterwork snowballs out of control when you're hitting multiple targets and comboing at the same time. Knowing that, I want to use an assault launcher that can prime. Unfortunately, the Ranger only has one choice there, but it's very powerful. Tactical Onslaught is the masterwork of Venom Darts. This multi-charge ability deals very low damage, but it applies the acid effect to targets, which primes them and increases their damage taken. Using Tactical Onslaught and the last argument together takes some setup, but when you get the hang of priming 2 or 3 enemies before throwing a grenade, you'll see much more frequent usage of your ultimate ability. If used correctly, it's possible to send out an ultimate several times per minute, so our components are going to improve its damage output. First, we're slotting the Emergency Power Universal component that was released with patch 1.0.3. It increases ultimate damage by 30%, and its additional effect instantly fills the ultimate meter when critically damaged. This effect can trigger every 120 seconds. We also have an Ultimate Inscription Universal component for an additional 15% ultimate damage. Since the Ranger ultimate deals blast damage, our next components will increase that damage type. Victor's Resolve increases blast damage by 50%, but lowers impact damage by 20%. We've also got the epic version of this component, called Crossed Arms, for another 50% increase to blast damage and 20% reduction to impact. Our final 2 components are for quality of life. Badge of Devastation increases our assault launcher damage by 5%, which doesn't matter much for this build, but its additional effect, performing a hit streak of 10, adds a small percentage of ultimate energy. Finally, Tip of the Spear increases combo damage by 50%, and combos restore health to you and nearby allies. For the last bit of our build, we have weapon selection. Since we've spec'd so much into blast damage, we're going to use 2 masterworks that scale well with blast damage: the Divine Vengeance Assault Rifle and the Truth of Tarsus Sniper Rifle. The Divine Vengeance causes an explosion after 3 weak point hits, and the Truth of Tarsus detonates combos on weak point hits if the target is primed. Shots fired from the Truth of Tarsus also explode. So, this build has a lot of stuff going for it. It doesn't take a lot to optimize your playstyle around it, but it rewards you for good placement and intelligent play. Now let's get into the field and see how it works. Alright folks, for today's testing we're diving back into a Grandmaster 2 contract. This is going to be very exciting. We're going to see just how much damage this build can push out. Alright, so we are approaching the first set of objectives, and our goal is going to... Whoa, this guy's aggressive. Our goal is going to be to throw our frag grenade at ideally 2 or more enemies when they're grouped together. We've got some Scar over there, so let's prime them up, throw that grenade. I missed the prime on the second one, so he's not going to die from the combo damage, but that's what we want to do. We want to hit at least 2 enemies with our frag grenade every time, and we also want to ensure that they are primed. Like this one guy, throw the grenade and we still get a nice chunk of energy, but we get so much more the more targets we get caught in the radius of the grenade, especially if we are comboing. And I'm taking a lot of damage here because I'm talking while I'm playing, and that can be difficult, but as soon as I get my ultimate ready, I will get all of my health back because that's how ultimates work. Not a huge group of enemies to really use that on, but it doesn't matter, we'll have it back soon enough. Divine Vengeance going to make short work of this guy. We'll combo him with the frag grenade as well, activating the muster point to reload our weapon for us. And then we got a nice group of 2, throw that grenade out, get that big chunk of energy. Now I've got to start destroying these stockpiles because the enemies are just going to keep coming. Ah, there it is. Alright. I believe my special component just activated. I totally can't remember the name of it, but whenever I am critically wounded, it's going to give me my ultimate back, and that is totally going to save my ass in some situations. That was really perfect. Let's switch over to Truth of Tarsus, get a nice big hit there, throw out the grenade, got a nice chunk of energy, and I'm going to have to pull back because I'm getting pressured by these enemies quite a bit. Totally whiffing my sniper shots, that's okay, things happen. Got a nice group of enemies there, nearly have the ultimate again. So that's going to be our goal here, is to just hit those grenade shots whenever we can. Got a nice combo with the Truth of Tarsus there. And again, always when there's multiple enemies. Now let's destroy another stockpile before we get rid of this group of enemies, because another wave is going to spawn. There we go, that's 2 stockpiles down. Now let's finish off the rest of these enemies with the ultimate. Ridiculous. Alright, I'm caught out. I almost have my ultimate back, and I desperately, desperately need it. There's a big chunk of enemies. Let's get it. There we go. Now that we've thinned out the herd a little bit, let's deal with another stockpile. And my component is giving me my ultimate back right away. I got set on fire, so most of my health got taken away as soon as it recovered. Let's try and get that hunter. There we go. Just before he was able to start recovering his shield or firing his Gatling gun. One of the problems with this build is that you don't have any crowd control. You cannot knock enemies out of the sky the same way you can with Pulse Blast or Seeker Missile. So when you get stuck with a Scar Hunter with his shields up and he's just firing at you while he's got maximum health, then you've got to run and hide or take it to the face. And it's just something you got to deal with for this build. So there are definitely pros and cons to this playstyle. Now let's take out that last stockpile. Now that they're all dead, we can eliminate the rest of the enemies. So you see the rotation for the build going on. It's very, very potent, and that's almost an understatement. This is, without a doubt, one of the strongest ways to play the Ranger, if not the definitive strongest way to play the Ranger. Whoopsie daisy. Tried to fly while I was on fire. That was not good. Jesus, he is so strong. As you can see, he's taking flight. There's nothing I can do to get him grounded except for killing him. Please. Please. Not like this. Not like this. Again, using the muster point to reload our guns and give us a damage buff in the process. And then we finish off the Scar Hunter. Alright, jumping right into the next area. We've got a lot of enemies to hit with our grenades, so we can really see the power and the speed at which we can generate our ultimate. So hopefully we can get maybe 3 or 4 before the encounter's over. That's always very satisfying. Get another guy primed up, go for the combo. Now I could have probably gotten a better combo if I waited just a second, and that's something to consider when you're using a build like this, is that patience may in fact be rewarded. You know, if you just wait a few seconds for enemies to group up instead of just spamming your abilities as soon as they come off cooldown, you may wind up with a better result. Like right here, big chunk, get the ultimate, send it out, and devastate the map. Now I believe my special component is off cooldown, so if I were to get critically wounded right now, I should get my ultimate. I'll play with fire a little bit. I'll dance with the devil. Don't try that at home, folks. Not recommended. And there we go. That's going to do it for the build for today. This is the strongest offensive way that you can play the Ranger. The amount of damage you can do by spamming your ultimate is phenomenal. But like I mentioned before, you're losing out on crowd control. You don't have that frost grenade. You don't have the ability to knock Scar Hunters out of the sky with Pulse Blast or Seeker Missile. So there are limitations. And that's what I enjoy so much about this build and builds in Anthem in general, is that there's nothing that's doing everything. This build doesn't feel perfect, despite the fact that it is very, very good. So with all of that said, we're going to wrap things up here. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to support the channel more than you already do just by watching, liking, subscribing, and commenting, you can head over to patreon.com/iBluairJgR to become a patron. As always, the name of the game is Anthem. The name of the channel is iBluairJgR. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.